There's something about you. You don't even have to speak. The room shifts. The energy stiffens. Some people get nervous. Some people get aggressive. And you wonder, what did I even do? Carl Jung believed that powerful souls don't need to act tough. Their energy alone is enough to disturb, awaken, or even intimidate the unconscious fears of others. If you've ever felt like you're too much for some people, or if silent tension follows you into places you don't even understand, you're not imagining it. Your aura is powerful, and here are 13 signs to prove it. People show you their insecurity without you asking. You don't even have to ask people anything. You could just walk into a room, sit quietly, and mind your own business. And yet, you'll notice something strange start to happen. People begin to talk. They start explaining their actions. They bring up things you never questioned. It's almost like they feel exposed just by being around you. Without meaning to, your energy makes them feel seen in a way they can't control. The lies they tell themselves, the stories they hide behind, the masks they wear to look good in front of others. All of it feels heavy in your presence, and so they rush to defend themselves, to justify why they said something, why they acted a certain way, why they made certain choices, even though you stayed silent, even though you never pointed a finger. Deep down, your aura is like a silent mirror. It doesn't accuse them. It simply reflects them, the real them, back to themselves. And for many people, that's terrifying. Because when you're used to hiding behind excuses, when you're used to pretending everything is fine, standing in front of someone who carries real authenticity feels like standing under a bright, uncomfortable spotlight. They feel judged, even when you're not judging. They feel guilty, even when you never blamed them. They feel seen, even when you never said a word. That's why some people will talk too much around you, why they'll overshare or try to prove they're good. They're not trying to connect with you. They're trying to protect themselves, not because you're dangerous, but because you unknowingly awaken a part of them they aren't ready to face. Your presence is powerful. Your energy is honest. And in a world full of masks, realness doesn't just stand out. It shakes people. Fake people can't stay comfortable around you. You might notice it without even trying. Some people just can't seem to stay relaxed around you. At first, they might greet you with a smile. They might act friendly, but soon, their body language changes. They start fidgeting. They avoid your eyes. Their words sound forced, like they're trying too hard to impress you or control how you see them. It's not because you're judging them, and it's not because you're trying to catch them in a lie. It's simply because your energy feels too real, too raw, too honest. When someone is used to wearing a mask, pretending to be something they're not, or hiding parts of themselves just to fit in, your authenticity feels dangerous to them. It feels like standing too close to a fire. They're afraid their mask will start melting. They're afraid you'll see through it, even if you have no intention of hurting them. So, instead of being themselves, they either act overly nice to overcompensate, or they become cold and distant, as if being near you is uncomfortable. You don't have to say anything wrong. You don't have to criticize. Your presence alone makes it hard for fake personalities to breathe. Because deep down, they know. They can't manipulate the truth when they're standing in front of it. They can't fake strength in front of someone who carries real strength in silence. They can't keep pretending, not when your spirit vibrates on a frequency that demands honesty. And so, many of them will quietly slip away. They'll stop inviting you. They'll start making excuses to distance themselves. It's not your fault. It's not your weakness. It's your power. You didn't lose fake people. You disturbed their illusions. And in doing so, you protected your energy from relationships that were never real to begin with. What your soul demands is not company at any cost. It's connection built on truth, even if that means walking alone sometimes. You make authority figures nervous, even when you're humble. Sometimes you can walk into a room, respectful and quiet, showing nothing but humility. And yet, you'll feel it. That subtle tension from those who are in charge. You're polite. You're not challenging them. You're not trying to prove anything. And yet, There's a strange uneasiness that follows you around certain authority figures. Bosses, teachers, leaders, even people older than you. They might act polite on the surface, they might smile or nod, but deep down, your presence rattles something inside them. Because real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real power doesn't have to shout, command, or demand attention. It simply exists, quietly, solidly, unmistakably. And when someone who holds a position of authority is standing on shaky ground, when their leadership is built more on fear, status, or ego than on real inner strength, your quiet presence feels like a silent threat. Not because you're attacking them, not because you're competing with them, but because your energy exposes something they don't want anyone to see. Their own insecurity, their own weakness, their own deep fear of being unmasked. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to rebel. You don't have to disrespect anyone. Just by being grounded in yourself, you trigger something they're trying to suppress. And so, some authority figures will try to assert dominance over you, even when you've given them no reason. They might try to correct you unnecessarily. They might talk over you, interrupt you, or minimize your ideas. They might even dislike you without being able to explain why. Because the truth is, you didn't threaten their position. You threatened their illusion. Deep down, part of them knows. Real leadership isn't about titles, uniforms, or loud voices. It's about authenticity, and when a soul carrying true authenticity enters the room, the ones faking it feel it immediately, even if they can't explain it in words. This can be lonely sometimes. It can feel confusing when people you respect treat you coldly, or when you're punished for being yourself. But you must remember, your energy isn't here to be small to protect the comfort of fragile egos. Your humility doesn't mean weakness. Your quiet strength doesn't need permission to exist. Carl Jung once said, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." And many people who stand in positions of authority have never passed through their own infernos. They simply climbed ladders made of fear and control. You, however, carry the kind of light that doesn't need a title, the kind of presence that doesn't need approval. And that alone is enough to disturb the false kings and queens who rule from the shadows. Never apologize for the way your soul silently speaks louder than their voices ever could. You're always misunderstood before you're respected. It's a pattern you've probably lived through more times than you can count. You walk into new spaces, meet new people, start new chapters of your life. And at first, you're misunderstood. They don't really get you. They label you quickly. Too quiet, too intense, too serious, too different. They don't see your heart. They don't feel the battles you fought silently. They only see what their limited vision can grasp. And because you don't fit neatly into the roles they're used to, they assume the worst. Maybe you've been called distant, or arrogant, or cold. Maybe you've been treated like an outsider, not because you were unfriendly, but because you didn't play the same small games everyone else was playing. And it hurts sometimes, because deep down, you know you're not what they say you are. You know the depth of your loyalty. You know the fire of your intentions. You know how much love and truth you carry inside you. But most people never stop long enough to see it. It's easier for them to misunderstand you than to confront what your presence stirs up inside them. It's easier for them to call you too much than to ask themselves why they feel so uncomfortable around someone who refuses to fake it. It's easier for them to judge you quickly than to admit they don't know how to handle realness. But here's the part they never tell you. The same people who misunderstand you in the beginning, the same ones who whispered about you, doubted you, pushed you aside, are often the ones who later admire you the most, silently or openly. Because over time, the truth becomes harder to deny. Your consistency speaks louder than rumors. Your quiet strength becomes undeniable. Your resilience under pressure becomes impossible to ignore. And suddenly, the same energy they once judged becomes the very thing they respect. It's a strange kind of journey. You will be the villain in some people's stories before they realize you were the light they couldn't understand. You will be cast out before you are celebrated. You will be doubted before you are honored. Carl Jung said, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases." You weren't born to fit into everyone's shoes. You weren't created to shrink into the boxes others build out of fear. You were made to walk a path so true, so unshakable, that even if you have to walk it alone for a while, those who once doubted you will eventually see. You were never the problem. You were the truth they weren't ready for yet. Respect will come, recognition will come, but your spirit must not wait for applause to know its worth. You are already whole, even in the moments when others don't yet see it. Strangers either feel drawn to you or completely repelled. You don't have to say a word. You don't even have to introduce yourself. Sometimes, just your presence is enough to create a reaction in strangers you've never met before. Some people will feel instantly pulled toward you. They'll look at you like they recognize something they've been searching for. A kind of energy, a feeling of safety, a rare authenticity that's hard to find in this world. They won't know why, but they'll feel like they can trust you. They'll feel seen. They'll feel understood, even without words. And then there are others. The ones who turn away. The ones who seem to dislike you immediately, for no real reason. The ones who feel uncomfortable, threatened, or restless around you, even though you did nothing to deserve it. It's confusing at first. You might wonder, did I do something wrong? Did I make a bad first impression? But the truth is far deeper than that. Your soul carries a certain frequency. It's not something you fake. It's not something you perform. It's something you are. Carl Jung believed that when two souls meet, it's never neutral. It's a chemical reaction. It's either creation or destruction, connection or confrontation, healing or discomfort. When someone is aligned with truth, healing, growth, and authenticity, your energy feels like a magnet. They don't just like you, they feel elevated around you. They feel something inside them wake up, something they might have buried or forgotten about themselves. You remind them of it without even trying. But when someone is drowning in denial, when they're clinging tightly to their ego, their lies, or their unresolved wounds, your energy feels like a threat. It pokes holes in the false world they've built. It shines a light into corners they want to keep dark. And so, instead of feeling drawn to you, they feel disturbed. They might act cold, rude, dismissive. They might gossip or try to diminish you. Not because they truly know you, but because they're trying to defend themselves against the reflection they see in you. It has nothing to do with your kindness, nothing to do with your intentions. It's the unspoken language of energy. Souls that are ready for growth recognize you as a guide. Souls that are afraid of change recognize you as a danger. You're not here to be everyone's favorite. You're not here to make yourself smaller so that others feel bigger. The ones meant for your energy will rise to meet you. The ones not ready will retreat. And that's not a rejection. That's protection. Because your path isn't about collecting crowds. It's about finding real connections. It's about walking with those who see you clearly and have the courage to grow beside you. You make people reflect on themselves, even when you don't intend to. You're just living your life. You're not trying to correct anyone. You're not standing on a stage, pointing fingers, giving lectures. And yet, something about you makes people stop and question themselves, not because you force them to, not because you preach to them, but because your very existence reminds them of what they are and what they could be. It's almost like a silent awakening. The way you carry yourself, the way you stay true to your values, the way you move differently from the noise and chaos around you. Without realizing it, you trigger a conversation inside their own mind. Why do I feel insecure next to them? Why am I pretending to be someone I'm not? Why haven't I healed that wound yet? Why am I still chasing things that don't even fulfill me? You never had to say a word. Your presence alone pulls up the things they've tried to bury, the dreams they abandoned, the truth they've silenced, the pain they've ignored for years. You carry a kind of living reminder that more is possible. More honesty, more depth, more courage, more healing. And for people who are ready, Being around you feels refreshing. It inspires them to think bigger, to choose better, to become more real with themselves. But for those who aren't ready yet, being around you can feel heavy. It can stir up frustration, jealousy, even anger, emotions that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own unfinished work. You become a mirror they can't escape. Not the kind of mirror that shows off perfect makeup or a polished image, but the kind that shows the cracks, the forgotten dreams, the wounds still bleeding beneath the surface. Sometimes they'll resent you for it. Sometimes they'll admire you for it. And sometimes they'll run away because facing themselves feels harder than blaming you. It's not your fault, and it's not your responsibility to fix it for them. Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." And because you've wrestled with your own darkness, because you've dared to walk through your own inner storms, your spirit naturally shines a light that forces others to see theirs. You're not here to change people. You're not here to save them. You're just here to be real. And those who are meant to awaken will awaken because of your light. Not your words, not your efforts, but your truth. You sense when you're being watched, without looking. You don't need to see it with your eyes. You don't need to hear a sound. You can just feel it, like a quiet pull against your energy. There's a strange tension that stirs in the air. The room feels different. The atmosphere changes, even before you turn your head. It's not your imagination. It's not anxiety. It's your sensitivity to the invisible, to energy, to human intention. Carl Jung spoke of the deep, unseen connection between human beings. The way souls and minds can touch each other across distances without words. You are living proof of that. You feel it when someone's eyes are heavy on you. You sense it when attention is placed upon you, whether it's admiration, curiosity, jealousy, or silent judgment. You can pick it up without a sound being made, because energy doesn't lie, even when words do. Sometimes it's a heavy, uncomfortable weight, the kind that makes your instincts sharpen. Other times it's lighter, a quiet kind of appreciation you can feel, brushing against your spirit like a soft wind. It's a gift. And it's also a burden. Because in a world where so many hide their true feelings behind fake smiles and polite words, you can feel what they don't say. You can sense when someone's heart is open, and when someone's eyes are sharp with envy or hidden malice. You can detect when someone is drawing closer with good intentions, and when someone's energy feels like a warning wrapped in politeness. Most people walk blind through life, only noticing what's said out loud. But you are tuned into a deeper frequency. You pick up the undercurrents, the things left unspoken, the energies that linger even after people have walked away. Sometimes it makes you feel isolated. Sometimes it makes you feel guarded. Because when you know what most people are feeling, even when they pretend otherwise, it's harder to trust, harder to relax, harder to pretend you don't see what you see. But never doubt this gift. It protects you. It shields you from false friendships. It gives you a sixth sense in a world obsessed with appearances. You are not crazy for feeling the invisible. You are not paranoid for trusting your intuition. You are simply awake in a world that has forgotten how to listen to anything beyond noise. Carl Jung believed that our unconscious minds are constantly communicating with each other, sending signals, exchanging invisible messages. You have the rare ability to hear those silent conversations. And if you trust that sense, it will lead you away from harm and toward the people and places where your spirit can truly thrive. Others try to dim your light, subtly or overtly. It doesn't always happen openly. Most of the time, it's subtle, almost hidden beneath smiles and polite words. But if you pay attention, you'll notice it. The small ways people try to shrink you. The tiny stings disguised as jokes. The advice you didn't ask for. Advice that somehow always suggests you should be less than you are. You'll hear things like, "Don't be so sensitive. Don't dream too big. You're doing too much. Who do you think you are?" At first, you might question yourself. Maybe they're right, you'll think. Maybe I am too much. Maybe I should tone it down. Maybe I should hide the parts of me that make people uncomfortable. But if you look deeper, you'll realize something very important. It's not that you're too much. It's that your light is too bright for the spaces they're comfortable living in. Your ambition reminds them of the dreams they gave up on. Your honesty reminds them of the lies they still live with. Your energy reminds them of a higher way of living, a way they're too afraid or too wounded to reach for. And instead of rising to meet you, instead of being inspired, they'd rather pull you down. Not because they hate you, but because your existence challenges the world they built to survive in. When someone has built their life around limitation, mediocrity, or fear, someone who shines with truth, passion, and depth feels dangerous. You disturb the balance they've made with their own comfort zone, and so they'll try to dim you. Not always loudly, not always aggressively. Sometimes it will be so soft you barely catch it. A discouraging word when you share your dreams. A dismissive glance when you speak your mind. A sudden coldness when you start glowing a little too brightly for their liking. They'll try to make you question yourself, because if they can make you doubt your light, they don't have to face the darkness they're hiding from. But remember, their fear is not your burden to carry. Their smallness is not your responsibility to fix. And their discomfort with your power is not a sign that you should dim it. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And becoming who you truly are means shining even when it makes others uncomfortable, even when it triggers their jealousy, even when it costs you people you thought would stay. You weren't created to shrink into spaces you've outgrown. You weren't born to edit yourself down into someone else's comfort zone. You are here to be all of you, unapologetically, fully, fiercely. The ones who are meant to walk with you will never ask you to be smaller. They will rise to meet you, or they will quietly exit your life, and both are blessings. You often feel too intense for shallow conversations. It happens more than you like to admit. You find yourself in a group, sitting at a table, standing at a gathering, and after a few minutes of smiling and nodding, you feel it. That emptiness. That strange sense that the words floating around you aren't really touching anything real. The conversations bounce from gossip, to meaningless trends, to complaints about things that don't even matter. And you're there, listening, participating when necessary. But inside, you feel like a deep sea creature trying to swim in a shallow puddle. It's not because you think you're better than anyone. It's not arrogance. It's not pride. It's that your soul longs for something real. Something alive. Something deep enough to make you feel like you're actually breathing, not just existing. You crave conversations that awaken something inside you. Talks about dreams, fears, purpose, growth, healing, the mysteries of life. You yearn for connection that isn't just surface level, polite, and safe. You long for moments where two souls meet, not two egos performing for each other. And when that depth isn't there, it feels suffocating. You feel yourself withdrawing, even if you stay silent. You feel your energy pulling back, even while your body is still in the room. You feel that quiet sadness, the ache of being surrounded by noise but starving for meaning. You wonder sometimes if you're the problem. Maybe I'm just too serious. Maybe I expect too much. Maybe I should learn to enjoy small talk like everyone else. But deep down, you know the truth. You're not too serious. You're not asking for too much. You're simply wired for depth, for truth, for soulful living. Carl Jung believed that only when we dive into the depths of the unconscious, the places most people fear to explore, can we find real meaning. You've tasted that depth. You've walked through your own darkness. You've built yourself from brokenness into strength. And so, shallow conversations feel like eating dust when you've known the richness of real food. It's not that you can't participate in light moments. It's not that you can't laugh or enjoy simple joys. You can, and you should. But what your soul craves is substance. Not constant performance, not endless distraction, not talking for the sake of noise. You are not broken for wanting deeper waters. You are not wrong for feeling out of place where meaning is missing. You are simply tuned into a different rhythm. The rhythm of realness, not of appearances. The right people will find you. The ones who speak the language of depth. The ones who crave truth as much as you do. And when you meet them, the conversations will flow like rivers. No pretending, no masks, no thirst left unquenched. You cause unexplainable emotional reactions in others. Sometimes you notice it. Someone's mood shifts around you almost instantly. You didn't say anything wrong. You didn't do anything unusual. You were just being yourself. And yet, people react. Sometimes with warmth, sometimes with sudden coldness, sometimes with admiration, sometimes with resentment, sometimes with a strange sadness you can't explain. It's confusing at first, because you wonder, did I trigger something? Was it something I said? Was it my energy? But the truth is much deeper than simple misunderstandings. Your presence touches places inside people that they've carefully locked away. You don't do it on purpose. You don't invade anyone's space. You simply exist in a frequency that brushes up against their buried emotions. Maybe you remind them of a version of themselves they lost. Maybe your strength highlights the parts of themselves they've neglected. Maybe your authenticity makes them realize how long they've been pretending. Maybe your peace shines a light on the storms they're hiding. And so, without knowing why, they react emotionally. Tears well up when they didn't expect to cry. Anger rises when they don't even understand what they're angry at. Jealousy burns even when they want to support you. Admiration grows even when they barely know you. You become a living trigger, a reminder of things they aren't ready to face, or things they secretly miss about themselves. Carl Jung spoke often about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we suppress, deny, or fear. When people encounter someone like you, someone who lives more closely aligned with their real self, their shadow doesn't stay quiet. It stirs, it rises, it demands attention. And the soul, faced with that sudden reflection, reacts emotionally. Sometimes with gratitude, sometimes with resistance, sometimes with confusion. It's not always about liking you or disliking you. It's about what you awaken inside them. Some will grow because of it. They'll see the parts of themselves they abandoned, and they'll start the journey back home to their truth. Others will fight it, deny it, project it onto you. Because facing themselves feels too painful, too threatening. You must understand this. Their reactions are not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for the storms you didn't create. You are not to blame for the awakenings you trigger. You were never here to stay small enough to make everyone comfortable. You were never here to dim your truth to protect others from their own reflection. You were built to be boldly, honestly, unapologetically. And in doing so, you'll move people, whether they are ready or not. That's not a weakness. That's your power. You walk into a room, and it feels like you shifted the temperature. You might not even notice it immediately. You're just walking in, calm, quiet, simply being yourself. But the room notices. Before you say anything, before you take a seat, something invisible moves through the space. It's like the air thickens for a moment. The conversations slow down. Some people glance up without even realizing why. The energy shifts, and you can feel it pressing gently against your skin. It's not because you're loud. It's not because you're demanding attention. It's because your spirit carries a certain weight, a certain presence that cannot be ignored, even by those who don't understand what they're sensing. Carl Jung spoke of the numinous, a presence that makes you feel as if something larger, something unseen, has entered the space. Something you cannot touch, but you feel it all the same. You carry that kind of effect without even trying. When you step into a room, your energy introduces you long before your words ever could. It introduces your experiences, your resilience, your depth, your inner battles that you've conquered in silence. People feel it. Even those who don't believe in energy feel it somewhere deep in their instincts. Some feel comforted by it, like a weary traveler finding shade in the middle of a scorching desert. They feel safer, more anchored, just by being near you. Others feel unsettled, like a secret they were trying to hide has suddenly been brought into the light. They might get defensive, closed off, uncomfortable without knowing why. It's not something you can fake. It's not something you can buy. It's something your soul has earned. Through every dark night you survived, every fear you conquered, every truth you chose when it would have been easier to lie. And now that truth radiates from you without you needing to announce it. It changes rooms, it changes moods, it changes people, whether they want it to or not. You have to understand that not everyone will celebrate that shift. Some will admire it, some will resent it, but very few will be able to ignore it. Your light makes the hidden visible. Your calmness exposes the chaos. Your presence reminds people of the parts of themselves they have forgotten, their strength, their courage, their realness. You were never meant to enter a room and disappear into the background. You were built to shift the atmosphere without lifting a finger, not through force, but through the undeniable gravity of a soul that has faced itself and survived. And no matter how the world responds, remember, you don't have to shrink to make the room more comfortable. You don't have to apologize for the way your spirit naturally moves the unseen currents around you. You are the storm and the stillness, the fire and the calm, the unseen force that reminds people, somewhere deep inside, that something real has just walked in. Jealousy finds you, even from people you try to love. One of the most painful lessons you'll learn in life is that jealousy doesn't always come from enemies. It doesn't always come from strangers who don't know your heart. Sometimes, it comes from the very people you loved, the ones you supported, the ones you cheered for when no one else did, the ones you believed in even when they had stopped believing in themselves. You didn't compete with them. You didn't try to outshine them. You simply grew. You healed. You worked hard. You chose to keep rising even when life tried to break you down. And somehow, your growth became a mirror they didn't want to look into. Because when you rise, you force people to see where they're still stuck. When you heal, you show people where they're still bleeding. When you stay true to yourself, you make people question all the ways they betrayed themselves to fit in. It's not your fault. It's not because you were arrogant. It's not because you rubbed your success in their faces. It's because your light touched a part of them that feels abandoned. And instead of reaching deeper into themselves to rise with you, some will choose to resent you for it. At first, it's subtle. The jokes that don't feel like jokes. The congratulations that sound hollow. The small jabs hidden inside friendly advice. The way their smile fades a little too quickly when you share good news, and it hurts. It hurts because you never saw them as competition. It hurts because you celebrated their wins like they were your own. It hurts because you would have given them the shirt off your back. And yet, they couldn't give you pure happiness without bitterness. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And many people you love are terrified, not of you, but of what your self-acceptance shows them about the parts of themselves they're still running from. You have to understand, their jealousy is not a reflection of your wrongness. It's a reflection of their own unhealed wounds, their own broken dreams, their own silent battles they haven't found the strength to face yet. It's a lonely feeling when you realize that not everyone who claps for you wants you to win. It's heartbreaking when you realize that love doesn't always guarantee loyalty. But don't let their shadows make you doubt your light. Don't let their bitterness make you shrink back into safety. Don't let their envy convince you that you have to dim your fire just to be accepted. You weren't made to keep yourself small, to soothe the insecurities of others. You were made to shine, even if it blinds those who refuse to open their eyes. You were made to rise, even if it leaves some people behind who once claimed they'd walk with you forever. And the ones who are truly meant for you, the ones who carry real love in their hearts, will never be threatened by your light. They will rise with you, not against you. Your journey isn't about collecting people. It's about becoming so real, so strong, so full of truth, that only those who are meant for your future can find you. You feel alone, even when you're surrounded. You could be standing in the middle of a crowd, laughing, talking, blending in, and still, a quiet part of you feels distant, separate, untouched. It's not because you're antisocial. It's not because you're cold. It's not because you don't want to connect. You do. You crave connection more deeply than most people could ever understand. But your soul has been stretched wider than the surface-level world most people live in. You don't just want presence. You want depth. You want truth. You want connection that feels real, not rehearsed. And that kind of connection is rare. It doesn't happen just because people are nearby. It doesn't happen just because there's noise and laughter. It happens only when two souls meet without masks. When two spirits recognize each other in a way that words can barely describe. Carl Jung said, "Loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself." And that's exactly it. You carry thoughts, dreams, fears, questions, and hopes so deep and vast that most conversations feel like trying to fit an ocean into a teacup. You could be surrounded by 100 voices and still feel unheard. You could be hugged by 10 people and still feel untouched. You could be celebrated and still feel unseen. Because being around people isn't what feeds your soul. Being understood is. Being seen for who you really are is. Being connected soul to soul is. And because your energy vibrates differently, because your spirit has traveled through storms most people can't even imagine. Most can't meet you where you are. Not because they're bad, not because they don't care, but because their hearts have not yet journeyed as deeply as yours has. You feel alone because your soul is not interested in small, shallow, temporary bonds. It's searching for something real, something lasting, something that can hold the weight of all that you are without fear. And while it hurts sometimes, while the loneliness feels heavy on days when you long for someone to just understand, without you having to explain, you must remember, this loneliness is not a curse. It's a sign that you were built for deeper waters. A sign that your spirit was designed to find rare connections, not common ones. One day, you'll find those souls, the ones who meet your depth with their own, the ones who don't fear your intensity but honor it, the ones who don't run from your truth but run toward it. Until then, honor the loneliness. Let it refine you, not harden you. Let it teach you that your own company, your own truth, your own light is enough, more than enough. You were never made to fit into every space. You were made to create new spaces, spaces where realness is safe, where depth is celebrated, where souls can finally meet without fear. Your loneliness is not a flaw. It's a whisper from the universe, reminding you, you are rare, and rare souls are not meant to be understood by everyone, only by the few who are truly meant to find you. The truth is, you were never meant to be ordinary. You were never meant to walk unnoticed, to fit quietly into the spaces that could never hold the size of your soul. You were built different, crafted by struggle, by healing, by a fire that few could endure. And yes, your aura will disturb people. Yes, it will awaken things they aren't ready to face. Yes, it will make you feel alone at times. But don't you dare shrink. Don't you dare silence the power inside you just to make the world more comfortable. Because the very thing that makes you different is the thing that makes you needed. Rare, unstoppable. So keep walking with your head high. Keep shining, even if your light blinds those who still live in shadows. Keep being the living proof that authenticity, courage, and depth still exist in a world starving for something real. You are not too much. You are exactly what you were created to be. And the right souls, the ones who recognize the rare language of your spirit, they will find you. And when they do, they won't be disturbed. They'll be home.